Here's your news for July 9th, 2020. And your headlines for today include double champion crowned at NXT's Great American Bash, shocking revelation by AEW, Matt Riddle drops a video statement admitting to affair, yet another famous wrestler suspended, yet another unique stipulation planned for a match at Extreme Rules 2020, WWE Rehired recently released employee, yet another shocking positive in WWE family, and more. We are kicking off today from Night 2 of NXT's Great American Bash, as Keith Lee is now both the North American Champion and the new NXT Champion. This marks Lee's first reign as NXT Champion after he captured the North American Gold in January, and also marks the end of the year-plus-long reign of Adam Cole. Lee's win is also historic, as he's the first NXT superstar to hold singles titles at the same time. Though, given that Karrion Kross and Scarlett were seen watching his celebration, it looks like the new champ already has his next opponent. In a post-match interview, the North American/NXT champion spoke about his career in WWE, gave props to Mark Henry, and also mentioned his coach, who recently passed away. Lee spoke about when his coach rightly predicted that the double champion would one day be in the top of the industry, and after describing his coach as a prophet, Lee said nothing gets sweeter than that. It's clearly been an emotional week for the new champion, and fans will have to tune into NXT next week to see how the Keith Lee era begins. At the same time on TNT, AEW was hosting Night 2 of Fyter Fest, where Taz reintroduced the FTW Championship. Last seen in ECW in 1998, where it was unified with the ECW World title, Taz said that whilst no promotion recognized it, it proved that the holder is the toughest SOB on the planet, and awarded Brian Cage with the gold. The move comes as Cage is set to face Jon Moxley for the AEW title next week at Fight for the Fallen, as the match was postponed due to Renee Young's positive test. And it seems that Cage could be leaving AEW Dynamite next week with 2 championships as well. Back to WWE now, and we've got an update from Matt Riddle, who has replied to the claims of wrongdoing made at him. Recently, independent wrestler Candy Cartwright accused the SmackDown superstar of forcing himself on her, and recently posted images of the two to refute Riddle's claims that she's a stalker. In his video, Riddle claims that the pair were in a consensual relationship at the time and admits that he cheated on his wife at the time, saying that this caused him to have depression. The SmackDown superstar also claims that when the pair broke things off, that's when Cartwright allegedly started stalking him, and described her statement that he forced himself on her as a fabricated story because you're still mad. Ultimately, it seems that fans will never know what truly happened between the two, though whatever the case may be, admitting to an affair isn't the best look for the SmackDown babyface. Back to AEW next, as Big Swole and Britt Baker have kept their rivalry going despite the latter's injury, but things have apparently gone too far. After Swole dumped Baker in a dumpster in recent weeks, she's now being suspended by AEW, and found out when she showed up to Night 2 of Fyter Fest, only to be blocked by Alex Marvez. Despite her suspension that night, Big Swole was able to get into the building later on to continue her torment of Baker, and we're sure that the fact that she was able to get into the building despite being suspended will feed Baker's conspiracy theory that the entire AEW roster is against her. We are looking ahead to the horror show at Extreme Rules next, as Dolph Ziggler will face WWE Champion Drew McIntyre in what could be a one-of-a-kind match. Appearing on The Bump, Ziggler spoke about how he's being allowed to set the stipulation for the match, and though he teased an Iron Man match, or a match where the Claymore is banned, the show-off has something else planned. He said, "If I can get this through and cleared by WWE, it will be something never been done before, and I will be taking full advantage because it's something I would be stupid to pick a normal match that we've seen before." Ziggler ended the interview without revealing what kind of match he'll choose, but fans can expect the show-off to reveal all as we get closer to the pay-per-view. Also on The Bump, Dolph explained why, despite rumors that he would, he didn't reveal the stipulation on this week's Raw, and brought in Heath Slater instead, saying that it's all psychological mind games that he's playing with our WWE Champion. Bringing Slater back certainly took a lot of people off guard, and time will tell whether Ziggler adds a third world title to his already huge trophy cabinet. Dolph's proposed match isn't the only unique encounter planned, as Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins will face in a match where the winner must extract the eye of the loser, as it looks like the horror show at Extreme Rules will be a night to remember. Now, it's no secret that WWE has let go dozens of staff members this past April, but now one has found her way back to the company. After writer Andrea Listenberger was part of the company-wide cuts, Ringside News is reporting that WWE has quietly rehired her, and that she's actually been back for quite a while. Though fans may not know her by name, Listenberger is the one responsible for a lot of the Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville storylines through WrestleMania, which culminated in the Golden Goddess ending her friendship with Deville and siding with Otis. It's currently unclear which storylines she's now a part of following her rehiring, but it's always good to see someone get their job back during these unprecedented times. We are focusing on Impact Wrestling next, as the company has posted another teaser commercial for Slammiversary with some pretty big names involved. In the teaser, clips of several Impact stars are used, including James Storm, Bully Ray, Chris Sabin, Gail Kim, Velvet Sky, and Angelina Love. Much like their last big teaser, this video also teased some recent WWE releases coming to Impact, including Kurt Hawkins, Shane Helms, and Mike and Maria Kanellis. Those that were let go from WWE in April will have their non-compete clause end this time next week, meaning they'll be able to appear at Slammiversary if Impact chooses to sign them. It should also be noted that Bully Ray, a former two-time TNA World Champion, is no longer under contract with Ring of Honor, and with several big names already being announced, this year's Slammiversary will be a must-see show for more than just the action in the ring. We are looking ahead to SummerSlam next, as whilst the show is regarded as the biggest party of the summer, the WWE isn't planning too far ahead. Despite Ziggler's claims of a match at Extreme Rules that will benefit him, it's widely assumed that McIntyre will retain his WWE Championship. But despite rumors of the Scotsman facing Randy Orton at SummerSlam, Vince McMahon is reportedly focused on booking the horror show at Extreme Rules first. Ringside News is reporting that whilst the boss has had some loose ideas regarding the August tradition, all plans are subject to change on a moment's notice, with their source adding, "I wouldn't say that anything is the plan." The idea of a McIntyre-Orton feud is intriguing, as if the Legend Killer wins the gold, it'd give Edge another reason to return and take on his former friend. And given that Bruce Pritchard is relying on older, more established names, giving Orton and Edge a 14th and 12th World Championship reign respectively seems like a possibility. We've got some sad news to report now, as Lana has revealed that her mother has tested positive and isn't doing too well at the moment. On social media, the Ravishing Russian revealed the worrying news and added that her mother is in the ICU at the moment, is asthmatic, and is on oxygen. Lana asked people for their prayers, and we would like to send our very best wishes to Lana, her mother, and her entire family at this worrying time. Recently, Kevin Owens spoke out against those who aren't taking the current situation seriously, as he had to watch his grandfather-in-law's funeral via Zoom, and we sincerely hope that this current situation ends sooner rather than later. We are entering the virtual world now, as WWE has revealed a ton of new details about their upcoming game, 2K Battlegrounds. Following on from WWE 2K20's dismal performance, the new game will feature exaggerated WWE superstars, and this week, the first trailer dropped for the new game. With everyone from The Fiend to Andre the Giant, and even a mask-wearing goat, this game will feature over 70 superstars and legends at launch, with more expected to be released after the initial launch. Speaking of the game's launch, fans won't have to wait long, as the game will be released on September 18th, and in addition to being on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam, Battlegrounds will be the first WWE game on the Nintendo Switch since 2K18, and the first WWE game ever for Google Stadia. In addition to an exhibition mode, the game will also feature a campaign that sees the player become an NXT rookie, as well as several online features, including a special King of the Battleground match. It'll be interesting to see how WWE Battlegrounds does when it hits shelves this September, but we're not sure that things could get much worse after the glitchy and often unplayable WWE 2K20. One man who knows all about what it's like to be in a WWE video game is Edge, who has had a career renaissance in 2020 despite his recent torn triceps injury. Though his injury will likely keep him out the rest of the year, the Rated R superstar has shown no signs of slowing down and recently spoke with Peter Rosenberg on ESPN's Cheap Heat podcast to discuss what's next. After facing some of the biggest names ever, including John Cena, The Undertaker, Triple H, and Randy Orton, it looks like Edge is looking for a new challenge, as he named some superstars he wants to face next. He said, "Yeah, there's Rollins, that's a gimme. There's AJ Styles, a guy like Cesaro, a guy like Shinsuke, Matt Riddle. I look at a guy like Ricochet, oh my god, I'd die to get in the ring with him." At this time, there's no word on when Edge will return, as the usual recovery time for a torn tricep is 4 to 8 months, but it's clear that Edge already has big plans for when he's back. And finally today, we're ending with news from Kayla Braxton, as the WWE personality has returned to Twitter following a brief hiatus. After testing positive for the second time and being harassed on Twitter, Braxton left the site on June 25th, though never left Instagram, but has reappeared on Twitter as if nothing happened. Braxton went straight back to work on Twitter by promoting the latest episode of The Bump, and also spoke about being stung by a mosquito that was too fast for her fly swatter. It's good to see Braxton is feeling better, and after reports that she has a lot of respect backstage for how she's operated despite her positive test, we can only hope that the harassment she received is a thing of the past.